welcome to another edition of the SND Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Steven is here. Dan is over there. How are you doing tonight,
What's
Dan?
up? How's it going? So far, so good. Good week so far.
Yes.
Fun packed show. Definitely coming in tonight. Coming hot at you.
We have a crazy show this week.
Yes.
We will talk some baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
We'll have a little bit of a baseball segment. Apologize.
Yeah.
Our good friend Andy from Eyes on Isles will be back with us this week.
Yeah, big news of the hockey schedules came out this week. Last week, actually, I apologize.
The end of last week, yes.
And this week, the Olympic teams, the qualifying team...
The training camp teams.
Training camp teams are going to be... were announced. So we get to break down the USA and
We'll talk
Canada.
a
little Canada.
Get his view on some of the local guys, see if they can actually make the team. Also tonight, we have a very special guest from NFL.com.
NFL.com, NFL Network. He is Adam Rank. It's going to be awesome to have Adam on the show.
Yes, especially training camp's opening.
Training camp's opening this week, and I've been listening to his shows forever. Steve's finally gotten into them, so it's going to be awesome to hear his unique take on the NFL, especially as training camps open up. So stay tuned, listen to this awesome show, and listen to more Dying Day by Division 1.1.
And we'll be right back. And welcome back to the SND Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Steven is here. Dan is over there.
Yes.
Baseball.
All right.
First off, congratulations, Juan Lagares, for winning NL Player of the Week for the 3 days. Even though he probably played, a game? Because the hottest player on the team, why would Terry Collins keep playing him? It would make sense.
It would make sense. That's just how the Mets do things.
Nothing makes sense.
He's actually growing. I'm growing more and more liking Juan Lagares as the
once a week he plays.
A couple times a week. He made a great play last night, gunning down. I forgot who it was, but the Mets are playing pretty decent baseball right now. It's for what they were supposed to be this year. They're playing decent ball right now.
There are games that are exciting to watch.
Then they're scrappy. And, you only use the word scrappy when your team sucks. So, unfortunately, that is the way we're looking at things right now.
They're scrappy.
They're a scrappy team. They took 2 out of 3 against the Phillies, which you obviously didn't expect. Well, you kind of expected with Harvey and Wheeler going on the mound. Wheeler didn't really pitch well, but he didn't get enough. He pitched okay. He didn't get enough innings to get the win, unfortunately. But Harvey was Harvey again.
You can argue that was his best start of his career.
Who, Harvey?
Yeah.
Nah.
He had like a 1 or 2 hitter going.
He had a 1-hitter going. It wasn't his best start yet. He's arguably one up there, but who's counting? He's been getting up to no-hitters around the 6th inning like it's been going out of style. So we're definitely getting spoiled with that action. And he actually got run support for the first time ever this game. So congratulations. David Wright hit a home run. Marlon Byrd hit a home run. On the Garrett hit a home run. They were home run happy on Sunday, which was rare to see, and it was good for them. Back to Monday. That was probably the toughest loss of the season to date. Mets had a 1-0 lead. Dylan G pitched 6 no-hit innings. Bullpen did its job until Bobby Parnell, with the rain started to happen, gave up the lead, blew a save. Then Craig Kimbrell, arguably one of the best closers in the game, other than Mariano, of course. He couldn't get his grip because it was downpouring. He got a couple of men on. Was the Turner coming up, pinch hit for his first appearance since coming back from his injury. That's robbed by Jason Hayward out of nowhere in left center field, just making a game-saving diving catch in the game. And that was just one of those. It must be really nice being 6'6" and making that kind of grab. And it was just one of those, we lost one with this game kind of game. I wasn't the maddest person, but I knew one slipped, and obviously we got to take all the wins we can possibly get. Last night was a nice win. We took care of business. Ike Davis taking care of the Mets win last night on my birthday, no less, and that was nice.
Yes, happy birthday to you, by the way.
Thank you.
I apologize. I meant to mention that in the intro.
I don't care.
Happy birthday. We won't mention age.
No, it's okay. But it was very nice to get a birthday present from Ike Davis.
2 games in a row with the RBI single out of him.
So it was very nice to see. So mazel tov out of him. I'm working on my Jewish.
Should I give the Jewish stat of the week?
Give me the Jewish stat of the week.
Jay
Thanks
Horowitz.
from Jay Horowitz.
That the Mets are like the first team ever to have 2 players on their active roster that are Jewish.
That's kind of hard to believe.
And they play the same position, Josh Stanton and Ike Davis.
Yeah. So
Granted, Ike Davis is only half, but we count him.
half is half.
His mom's Jewish, so we count him.
Okay. Nice. Anyway, that's been that. And
That was
tonight,
our Jewish stat of the week.
Yeah, that's the Jew stat of the week. That's about it. The Mets are just floating. They're still they're obviously not irrelevant to the national stage, but to the local media and everything, the Mets are still have a pulse, and that's a lot to say after the last couple years. Right now, they'd be tanking it and just on until oblivion. So as long as Harvey and Wheeler and all those guys that we mentioned before keep on continuing to play well, there'll be people still at Citi Field and still wanting to talk about the Mets. So
Also,
we got to say thank you for Darren coming on last week as well.
Yes. Also, this week we're starting something new. In each segment, we're going to take the number of show we're on, and we're going to give a shout-out for that number to the player.
Yes.
And this week's Met guy, number 38, Dave Malicki.
Dave Malicki.
The first ever Met-Yankee game through 6-0 shutout, complete game shutout. What was that, 97?
Yeah, yes, it was 1997. So congratulations on that.
That's why Dave Malicki gets our Met shout-out of the week for number 38. Stick around. We got an interesting Yankee one for you guys as well. But I guess since the last time we spoke, the best Met of the week has to be Lagares.
Lagares, actually really good. Of course, it's always been that kind of thing of always being just every day he's getting a chance of proving himself, and he's been saying how hard he's been working around the field, not during games, and prepping himself. So that's always great to see and everything like that. So I really, 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 really get to enjoy seeing how hard he's putting his work effort into him becoming a pros pro and maybe being an everyday player in the future for us. That's what everybody's been saying. So it's really interesting to see how interesting to see how young players develop and becoming a pros pro every day. So I'm rooting for Lagares pretty hard because he has every reason to deserve it. Unlike other players like Valdespin and everybody who took things for granted instead of putting in the work. Granted, I was in the Mets clubhouse, but you can tell Lagares is a different personality than Valdespin, and he's able to learn and he wants to learn, kind of thing. Not thinking he's better than what he really is, unfortunately. So that's what I think about the Mets. The Mets just got to stay status quo and just be irrelevant for us to keep on talking about them.
Right. That's all we're really asking for. We're not asking for too much, Mets. So now we're going to switch gears to the other New York baseball team and talk a little Yankees. Should I give the shout-out right now? Yes,
give the shout-out. Since it's the 38th episode, the number 38 Yankee to our hearts since our fandom
Ricky Leday.
Ricky Leday. Congrats to Ricky Leday. His
I hope you're listening.
His key moments were in the 98 World Series when he hit a couple big doubles.
Wasn't he a Met for like 20 minutes?
Yeah, he was a Met for 20 minutes.
Ha,
so that's why.
So we technically win with that one because we get a double whammy.
Whatever.
I don't think he wore 38 with the Mets, though.
No, he definitely didn't. But that's a different story. The Yankees, it's not your brothers Yankees teams from the 90s or the 2000s. The Yankees, let's see. They haven't hit a home run from the right side since the middle of May.
Ew. Chris Stewart and Vernon Wells were the last two right-handed hitters to homer for the Yankees. Sink that in, Yankee fans. Just keep sinking that one in.
They lost 2 out of 3 against Boston. That was a rough series.
Oh, CC. Those balls are... That Mike Napoli home run is still flying.
It wasn't a good weekend for the Yankees.
What's up with CC?
He's I don't know. He's the last couple of starts. There must be something wrong that no one's sharing. So it's pretty much that's what it is for that. They lost a tough loss on Monday. Tuesday, last night, they came back and won. A rare blown save by Joe Nathan. That was nice to see the Yankees finding a way to bounce back with Nunez getting a clutch hit. it's just one of those things. The Yankees can't put it together because they don't have the bats because of all the injuries and everything like that. They thought they were going to have Jeter back last week. Jeter finally comes back, and he hurts himself on his first game back.
You know what? I was listening to Francesa today, 24th while we were recording, and he actually brought up a great point on that. The Yankees did with him. They basically had Jeter play a day game after a night game. Mm-hmm. He played the night before he came back in a night game in a rehab assignment, and then he played the next day. They should have had him benched that day and played him Friday, give him the day off, and maybe things could have been a little different for them.
Yes.
But I guess I got to give Francesa a little shout out there.
Franny.
That's right. I gave Mike Francesa a shout out.
Yeah, always awesome. It's just one of those tough to be a Yankee fan kind of thing. It's funny, our friend Mike, who's been on our podcast a few times, he goes, so this is what it feels like to be a Met fan. But it's funny, they end up winning, so he doesn't know how it feels to be a Met fan. So
it's getting there.
It's getting there. They got to figure out, they got to find ways. They're going to have to find a way to make a couple of trades. Rumored has it that they might try to get Soriano for the deadline, which would be a nice get. Because Soriano is not what Soriano was a few years back, but he's still better than what the Yankees have in the outfield at the moment, with all the injury plague team they have this year. The Yankees, they are finishing up the series against the Rangers. Now they're playing the Red Hot Rays at home. Yikes. The Yankees are going to have to... The Yankees really, really have to settle it down, try to find a way to steal a couple of games, and maybe win the series. The Rays have been the hottest team in the league. It's just been absolutely ridiculous. So the Yankees are going to have to really hold on to their horses and find a way to pull a couple of games out of that in that series when they play them this weekend. But
it's at the stadium, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Then they have the West Coast swing after that series again in L.A. against the Dodgers. So
yes, they're going to L.A.?
Yes, they're going to L.A.
Play the Dodgers.
Play the Dodgers and the Padres. This is the interleague play every series this year.
They Cowboys.
Yes, exactly. My thoughts exactly. Anyway, with that, it's just the Yankees got to keep on swimming for dear life and holding on and just get those injuries going. I know I sound like a broken record.
Don't get them going. Get them fixed.
Forget them fixed. I've been sounding like a broken record to keep on saying it, but it's really the truth. They desperately need... The guys that were carrying them are desperately need their help, and it's starting to run out, and the Yankees need to find a better way to build this team for the next couple years.
Yeah. It's going to be fun to see if the Yankees could bounce back this year. I don't think they can. Personally,
this year doesn't look it right now. It's weird to see the Yankees in fourth place.
It is very weird to see that.
Very weird.
But once again, I'd like to thank Darren for last week.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, check out last week's show because it was a great show.
It was a great show.
Our middle of our baseball season preview. But now we're going to go play a little more Division 1.1 Dying Day, and then we'll be right back with Andy from Eyes on Isles.
SNDPODCAST is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by Major League Baseball or any of its affiliates.
All right, welcome back to the S&D Podcast. You just listened to Dying Day by Division 1.1. Our good friend Andy from Eyes on Isles is joining us right now. Welcome to the show, Andy. How's it going this week?
Very well, boys. How you doing?
We're good.
Good.
Nice to have Andy on to talk some hockey in the middle of July.
Yeah.
Baseball's pretty boring.
Especially after last week's sweltering heat, we need to cool off a little bit.
Yes, we need the hockey. First off, before we really start, kudos to Andy for plugging away on his daily articles, him and his staff on eyesoniles.com, just plugging away in the off season and just finding more and more stuff to write about each and every day. They actually got lucked out a little couple of news last week with the schedule and this week with the Olympic rosters. But what's your take on the Islanders' schedule so far for the upcoming season?
You know, it was funny. Everyone waited so impatiently, I'll say, for the schedule to come out because, as you just said, there was just no news. I mean, I can't remember a time in the NHL where free agency was so quiet after the initial day. I mean, everything just literally stopped, and nobody within the hockey world, and even my sources have an explanation for it. We just don't know what's going on. Why guys like Damian Brunner and Mikhail Grabovski and Mason Raymond still remain unsigned. Some speculation is that teams are trying to free up more cap space to fit those guys in. Possible, but everyone waited for the schedule because there was nothing else going on. It comes out, and then people just start going nuts about it.
Yeah, it's
I mean, the fact that we have one home game against the Rangers is kind of bush.
Technically two, but
Right. But for me, it's like, at the end of the day, I just want to know this. Does every team play 82 games? Does every team have 41 home games? That's it. So at the end of the regular season, everyone's going to be on the same footing, no matter what. And I think at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. You have to win. You have to win your games. Everyone freaked out when they saw that the Rangers had the lightest travel schedule in the league, and that it comes out the next day that the Islanders have the second lightest. So,
well, to be fair with the Rangers, they do, because of the construction of the Garden.
Yes.
They do start the road like in a 10-game road trip, so that's why it looks so light. But they do play the same amount of road games as everybody else. So that at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter. It was just top heavy in the early part of the season. Opposed to other teams going to be getting it later in the season. Of course, that plays a big role for the Rangers, but honestly, you got to play the games. I know it's an old cliche, but it's absolutely true. You got to play the teams that are in front of you, and one step at a time. For all we know, the Rangers or the Islanders, for that matter, with the quote-unquote lightest schedules on the road, turn to be one of the hardest. You never know. And I'm taking that from the NFL playbook, because you really never know, especially with the NHL teams. On one year, they could be really hot. The next year, they are not because of injuries and everything like that. So, also, check out... Andy actually wrote the article. When did he write the article?
He didn't write the article. Ashley wrote the article.
All right. The new writer, Ashley, wrote the article of the top 5 games. So,
yes, very, very good piece. Just came out the other day.
Yeah.
Yes. So shout out to Ashley. Her first
Definitely.
SND podcast shout out. Congratulations to her.
The Islanders start at the Rock this year.
Yes.
That's going to be a fun game. The Devils are definitely in that transition mode, especially after the last week's crazy retirement.
Forget the schedule right now. What do you think of the division name, Andy?
Oh, the Metropolitan Division.
Another interesting point on the division name.
So I can call it
Metropolitan Division is probably the most ridiculous name I could have never thought of.
The Mets Division. All right.
The same thing. Before that even came out, my plan all along was to call it the Islanders Division. When I talk about it, I'm like, who's in the Islanders Division? How are the Islanders doing in their division games? Did you ever hear, even back when it was called the Patrick Division? I'm going way back when in my youth. Did you ever hear somebody say, "Oh, who's going to win the Patrick Division"? No, it's who's going to win our division, or who's going to win the Islanders Division. If you're talking from an Islander fan perspective, so again, people making is it a ridiculous name? Yeah, but people making a little more out of it just because there's no news to make anything else out of.
We got to see Ovechkin a few more times this year.
And the Blue Jackets.
The Blue Jackets, random team, but okay. And the
so-called MVP of the league, Alex Ovechkin, yeah.
And the Hurricanes. So the Stahl brothers. So
all of them.
All of them. Yeah, all of them are in the same division this year.
I see the Red Wings more too.
That's right. That I'm excited about.
That's what's going to be weird, that they're going to be in the East Coast, Eastern Conference.
Not to go political, but apparently they're getting a new arena.
Wow.
Detroit's bankrupt, but the Red Wings are going to get a new arena.
Mazel tov to them. That's big.
Making no comment on the bankruptcy of Detroit issue.
Good
This
call.
is a sports show.
Good call.
This is a family sports show.
Good call, Andy.
All my political views are broadcast on my Facebook.
They are.
Not on the SNDP podcast.
I tend to most. Anyway, let's see. They're also, since they started October 4th against the Devils, that's going to obviously be a big game for the Islanders. Then the opening night, the next night, against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yep.
That's going to be fun. The old barn's going to be rocking. The Islander fans are going to be ready to go. hopefully on a happy mood from beating the Devils the night before. But what do you expect the Islander crowd after making the playoffs last year and being so high on this offseason and another year of this team getting into not say their prime of their career because they're still very young, but the early stages of their prime? How amped up is the Coliseum going to be on the October 5th?
I think on October 5th, it's going to be like we all remember it from Game 6 against Pittsburgh. I really do. I think it's going to be that loud. It's going to be that boisterous. It's going to be that fun, especially if you're an Islander fan. If you're a Columbus fan making the trip, I would advise maybe coming out for a later regular season game. I wouldn't come out for that one. But
a tough ticket to get.
Yeah,
I'm more interested, guys, to be honest, in where the crowd goes into January, February, March, and April. And my big concern, I've been saying this on my Twitter, is expectations. Mm-hmm. We have to be very careful with our expectations for this team. Did we return to relevance in a big way last year? Absolutely. Are we a better team than we were? I would argue in fact, I did argue in an article that I did 2 weeks ago, are we a better team than we were 2 months ago? Yes, we are. But are we ready to compete for the Stanley Cup? Absolutely not. I don't believe it. And I think that if you do believe that, you're going beyond fandom into naivety. And people are going to throw the old cliches at me. Well, anything can happen. Anybody can get hot. Yes, I know that. But in reality, we're getting there. The rebuild is bearing fruit. It's finally showing its nice smiling face at us. But we're not ready to contend for a cup yet. I don't think we will be for another year or two.
You know me, Mr. Optimism with Islanders. You got to show me in November. November has always been the Islanders' bugaboo the last couple of years.
Yep.
And
that was the best part of the lockout. There was no November.
Yeah, there was no November hockey games for the Islanders last year. And that's been their biggest bugaboo with Capuano and the coaches before him would be they start off really red hot in October, then just completely tank it in November. December, okay, fight a little back, and then the rest of the season, too late for them to actually make the playoffs, but they are arguably one of the better teams in the conference. That's definitely my key of where the Islanders are going to be next year on making the playoffs and hopefully being respectable and maybe hopefully finally winning a playoff round. That's all I want next year.
What I want to see is, like I said, I want to see fans come out in January through April the same way they are going to come out Saturday, October 5th against Columbus. I want to see that. I think that the club deserves it. I think no matter where the standings are at that point, and I don't know where they're going to be, but the fans need to come out. It's just that simple.
Absolutely. Are you going to try to get tickets to the Yankee Stadium game?
The Winter Classic's always been a novelty to me. I think the league overdid it this year, in my opinion. I think that
a year thing was always good.
Yeah.
That was the best part about it.
That's what I liked about it. One a year.
The one outdoor classic game a year was the whole hook, and now they've turned it into let's have 4, 6, 8. Let's have 12 outdoor games, and I think. One, that takes the luster off it. Two, the sight lines for the price you're paying, and I'm a fiscal guy, as you can imagine by that comment alone. For what you're going to pay to go to that, you're paying purely for the atmosphere because the sight lines are horrendous.
Yes.
You're probably the furthest away from a professional sporting event that you can get, especially a sport like hockey. So you know what? I honestly think I'd probably just be best off, sitting on my couch with a couple of beers and enjoying it from that angle. Unless I somehow magically have credentials by then and I somehow get to go to it as a credentialed writer, then that's a whole different story. But
I think you remember the little guys from the SND podcast, and
I will never forget the little guys. Believe me, and believe me, I'll still be a little guy. I have no delusions of grandeur.
I am excited about the Winter Classic, just so I could say I saw an outdoor hockey game live.
I'm hoping.
But that's all. But that's about it. I mean, I agree with you. It should be the one.
Oh, absolutely.
One a year. There was nothing better than New Year's Day.
Right.
At home all day, and you're getting pumped for the game.
Yeah, and nothing beats the 24/7 special on HBO as well. This year, of course, that show is going to be awesome because it's going to be the Maple Leafs and the Red Wings.
It's the Red Wings, yeah.
But there's going to be 5 other games, and it's just like, all right. But like a couple years ago, the Rangers Flyers, obviously we have dislike for both teams. But honestly, the pure gold that came out of those shows made more people watch hockey.
Yeah, and I don't understand why HBO didn't capitalize more on that. I understand the lockout happened and that kind of took a damper off the sport, but even now, as we sit here today, I don't know why there isn't more hockey programming going on like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be centered around just the Winter Classic. I mean, that's such a huge exactly. That show was such a huge success, and people have been dying to get into the lives of hockey players for a long time because the sport's never had that kind of exposure before.
Well, one thing NBC Sports Network does is that the NHL 36
Day in the life they do too. Yeah, it's like a day in the life type of thing.
Yeah, it was like 36 hours with Patrick Kane or something.
Okay.
I enjoyed that. Why ain't they doing more of that? I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
but again, trying to explain network TV is
not our job.
It's a fruitless task too. It'll just frustrate you to the point where you're going to want to bang your head against the wall.
We'll be there. We'll be here for days and years for that.
Exactly.
Our show's not long enough for that.
Right. We don't have days and years. We only have about 15 minutes.
Well, then again, we don't know. What is the guy saying these days? When's the world ending?
I don't know. Did they dig up somebody else with a medallion around the neck that had a date on it?
Nah.
Another thing that happened this past week is the Olympics. They have agreed to send the players to the Olympics because the owners didn't want to because, God forbid, they don't make money for 17 days.
Right.
Thank God. Thank God. Thank God.
Because, they can't schedule a concert or something for 3 days. And
no. That'd be unheard of.
I mean, like the Coliseum. That would be the perfect time to have the circus, by the way. Just say.
If anybody working at the Coliseum listening to the show, listen to Steve.
Do the circus.
Anyway.
Just so we don't have to cost us 2 weeks in March of home games.
More importantly, the returning silver medalist USA hockey team.
Okay, we're going to do USA hockey first. Okay, the primary rosters came out for the tryouts, basically.
The tryout invites, yeah.
Right. I'm going to give you the list of the goaltenders, and I'm going to give you who I think should make it. We'll go position by position. How does that sound?
That's fine.
That's the best way to do it. For the USA team, the goaltenders are Craig Anderson from Ottawa, John Gibson, who nobody's ever heard of, from the AHL.
You heard of John. John Gibson was in the World Championships just last year for the United States. Really good goaltender. He's in the Ducks system.
Okay. Jimmy Howard.
Yep.
From the Wings. Ryan Miller from the Sabres. And we all know how Andy feels about Ryan Miller. Jonathan Quick from the Kings and Corey Schneider from the Devils. Okay. Yeah, that's weird to say, from the Devils.
It is, right? You got to get used to that stuff.
Anywho, first thing I thought of when I saw this team and the Canadian is 7:30 in the morning on the final day of the Olympics. Right. 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, not Russian time.
That's gonna be
gold medal game. Corey Schneider versus Roberto Luongo would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool, although I don't think Schneider wins the starting job.
I don't think he'll be the... I think Quick is going to be the starter.
Quick's going to be starter.
I think the question is the backup, because Craig Anderson shown that he should make this team.
I think they're going to give it to Ryan Miller just because of how awesome he was a couple years ago. Last 4 years ago, he was on his head 4 years ago.
Wasn't it years ago DiPietro had a decent Olympics?
No,
so what are they going to give him
No.
give him a shot too?
Ryan Miller was on his head. Do you remember the goal he gave up that lost the gold medal game?
I remember.
But yes.
He should have covered the damn puck. Instead, he played it into the corner, put Rafalski into an impossible situation. Rafalski turns the puck over, and Crosby goes 5-hole off the sideboards. I mean,
I forgot we have Ryan Miller hate club number 1. But you're absolutely right. But overall, just getting there, Ryan Miller was on his head.
Yes, was. I'll give him that much. I have Quick, Howard, and Schneider as the 3 goalies for me.
No Anderson, huh?
No, I just think Anderson was spectacular last year before getting injured, but I don't think he repeats that this year.
Yeah, I agree with Andy on that one. And Jonathan Quick's going to be the starting goalie. He's arguably one of the best goalies in the league.
I agree.
In the world.
Wasn't he technically the 3 4 years ago?
Yes, he was the 3. Who was the
Yeah,
best?
he was. That's right.
Tim Thomas, I think.
That's
was
right.
The backup.
Tim Thomas was the backup goalie. That's right.
It was Miller, Thomas, and Quick. I think this is Quick's time. I think he's got the lateral quickness post to post that's going to be needed against that Canadian offense.
And you know what's fun about him is that he's only like 27.
Right.
So he could end up being not just this year's starter, but the next 2 or 3 Olympics also.
Oh no, this U.S. team, if you look at just the invites they sent out this year, is going to be a dominant international hockey team for a while.
Oh yeah, I mean you got Seth Jones with an invite, and he hasn't even played an NHL game yet.
That's right.
So let's go on the defense, and I'm not going to give the whole list because there's a lot of guys.
Let's just stick to the one local guy. I hope he makes it.
Well, there's multiple local guys.
Guys, okay, fair enough.
But let's first go to the Islander guy, since you are the Islander blogger. What's the realistic chance of Kyle Okposo making this team?
Very realistic. I think.
Really?
I personally think that the beast mode that he was in the end of 2003 and in the playoffs is going to just carry over. I think the way he's working out, the reports that I'm getting from his workouts this summer are very positive. I think he's grown in that maturity level to understand what it takes to succeed in the NHL. And I personally, looking at the forwards and the ones that I have pegged for making the team, I mean, let's just go through the ones that I don't have making the team, and then you'll see why I think Okposo should make it. Blake Wheeler, I don't have making the team. Paul Stastny, who I absolutely cursed to death in 2010. I don't want to do that again. Please don't make me do that again. Craig Smith, Joe Pavelski, who I think could be an injury replacement. Palmieri, Pacioretty, Oshie, Trevor Lewis, and
She's gonna make it?
Bukestad and Bo Bennett. So out of those names, can you really see Okposo not making it over one of those names I just said that I have not making it? I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, well, in the same category of the borderline, do you think that Derek Stepan gonna make it?
Yeah, I do too. I think Stepan, what he showed last year was real. I think he really came into his game, which is rare, right? Because Tortorella was there, and I've killed Tortorella for his handling of young players before.
9.
But Stepan really, I think the Derek Stepan you saw last year is the real player. I think he's going to continue to blossom, and I definitely think he earns a slot. He's a really nice second line center for this team, for the U.S. team.
For U.S., wow, really?
He's a really nice second line center for that team.
Thinking third, fourth guy.
I'll tell you what, though. If you look at the guys who can end up being on the starting defense for this, I mean, John Carlson.
Before, since we're still doing local guys, my personal odd-on, if I could say, personal Ranger that I like. What about Mack Truck? Do you think Mack Truck's going to make the U.S. defensive roster?
Who?
Ryan McDonough.
Oh, Ryan McDonough, absolutely, yeah. McDonough's the best defenseman on the Rangers, in my opinion.
Yeah, but there is a lot of defensemen that.
I mean, look at this. You have a chance of Carlson, Cam Fowler,
Bufflin. Don't forget Bufflin.
Bufflin's like 800 pounds apparently now, so who knows what he's doing. McDonough,
Eric Johnson, Jack Johnson.
The only guy I have
Ryan Sutter.
The only guy I have that's maybe on the bubble as far as defenseman that I have making the team that might be arguable is Bogosian. You know, I have Bogosian, Bufflin, Carlson, McDonough, Orpik, Shattenkirk, Suter, and Yandel is who I have making it on the defense. So the only guy you might argue, you could probably safely argue there is Bogosian. Maybe doesn't deserve it, but
I'll tell you what, the happiest NHL team has to be the Nashville Predators.
Yep. Yeah.
Arguably the best player in the draft fell to them in Seth Jones, and now he's going to get to go work out with these guys.
Exactly.
These NHL guys who are the top guys in the league.
Right, and that's what it is for guys like him, Jacob Trouba, I think Nick Leddy of the Blackhawks, Jake Gardner, even Fowler and Justin Falk. I think just to be able to get invited to camp and be around these guys and work with these guys for 2 days, I think is invaluable in itself, even if I don't have them making the team.
Right. It's not even about making the team for the training camp. A lot of those guys, the younger guys, like I said, Seth Jones is.
Yep.
The guy was born the year the Rangers won the cup.
Totally agree with you.
I mean, and they said he should be, if not the guy in the draft. He was probably for about 2 years talked about draft wise.
Yeah, he'll be the future captain there. I have no doubt.
You think they'll take it away from what's his name?
I don't think they'll take it away. I just think that Jones's play and his character is going to earn it.
Interesting. But that's an argument for another time. So that's the U.S. team. I mean, I guess we should talk a little bit about the Canadians.
Yes, since they run the sport.
But Andy did have a very interesting article come out today, actually, on the 24th about the Canadians. So let's hear about the article a little bit, Andy.
Well, basically, I wanted to follow up on my piece that I did on the Americans, let everybody know who the invites were and who I think, in my opinion, I'll say that because a lot of people think that, a lot of people think that all we write are facts, and I'm going to be telling them that it's almost the exact opposite. It's almost all opinion, as you would with if you're discussing hockey with anybody else. But my philosophy on the Canadians is, I looked up and down that when I was researching for this piece, and man, I can't believe the names that I had to leave off. I was like, oh my God, this is such an incredible invite list. But at the same time, I have this weird feeling that they're going to disappoint, man. 35 million people in Canada are going to be just glued to this team, and every move they make and every face-off they take, every shot they miss wide, every hit that they miss. I just think that's an enormous amount of pressure to play under every international tournament. And, the thing people don't forget about these tournaments is it's a 2-day camp. You play your regular, club or NHL season. You go into the Olympics basically in a 2-week stretch run where you have no chemistry with the guys you're all of a sudden playing with. I played hockey for 30 years, and chemistry is a very underrated part of the game. When you're comfortable with your centerman, or as a centerman, you're comfortable with your winger, and you kind of know where he's going to be without even looking, and things like that are very underrated. I think that's why Canada started so slowly in 2010. This year, it's going to be interesting to see if they can live up to those expectations that 35 million people do. It really is.
Also, don't forget their all-star team. Granted, the USA does have an all-star team as well. But this team,
let's start with the goalies.
If they don't win gold again, then it's a big disappointment.
Exactly, and that's what I mean by the pressure and the expectation is. The expectation is they're going to run away with it. But we're sitting here talking U.S. Canada too. I don't think we can rule out Sweden. Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic. Finland's not a bad hockey team. Russia, obviously. A lot of dangerous teams out there.
No, of course. But we're focal pointing on these two teams since we probably have people from those countries listening. Obviously, America, since it's the greatest country of the world. Anyway.
So let's talk goalies since we did that with the U.S. team. We'll do goalies first.
You got Corey Crawford from the Blackhawks. You got Holtby from the Caps. You got Roberto Luongo from the Canucks.
Who somehow is still a Canuck.
Carey Price of the Canadiens. And Mike Smith of the Coyotes. I'm gonna go with Carey Price and Luongo.
I'm gonna rule out Holtby and Mike Smith.
Ooh.
And go Corey Crawford and Carey Price.
I ruled out Holtby and Price.
Really?
I'm going Crawford, Luongo, and Smith.
Okay. Well, we have
Smith is a big body. I think Price proved last year that when he's on, but when he's off, he's off.
Right.
And
yeah.
I'm not sure Babcock's going to want to trust that.
Damn, that sucks. I'm older than Carey Price. Really hurts my feelings right now.
And I like Carey Price a lot. I like his style. I like, but he's, I think, too inconsistent for Babcock to take a chance on in that tournament.
And Andy, I'm finally getting into your age range when reading people's birth dates. I'm getting older than.
You're not even close, so don't even start. Not going to go there again.
We talked about this with Darren. We don't make fun of ages on the show.
I know, but that really just hurt because I got the roster and Carey Price.
Next, you're gonna make me start saying like whippersnapper and stuff like that.
Hey, you young whippersnappers, yeah.
What was the tweet you sent out about pulling up your high socks?
Yeah, he's pulling up his high socks and kicking our ass. our
Man.
punk asses. Quote unquote.
Quote unquote, exactly.
Yes,
All right,
if you want to have a good time on Twitter, just follow the three of us.
Yeah, Andy, what was that about? You and T-Bone yesterday. Oh my god.
Yeah, we both walked away from our phones apparently, and we both said the same thing. Wow, they just went off.
Anyway, back to the Canadian national hockey team.
Just never know what you're gonna get when Andy's on. We just randomly ramble.
It's fun.
It's like Forrest Gump, man.
I love you, Jedi.
You're my girl.
I'll make a good husband.
Defenseman.
All right, let me ask you right now.
All right, you're gonna say his
Of
name.
course, Travis Hamonic. Hey, I was shocked compared to when I looked at everybody else's name to see Travis Hamonic's name on that list.
Hamonic. Say it right.
Hamonic, but I'm dyslexic.
You're just pronouncing it as it's spelled. You're pronouncing it as it's spelled. I get it.
Hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's right.
And it's funny because I'm
Travis Hamonic, I don't think makes this year's team.
Yeah, unfortunately, no, because the defense is too ridiculously good.
My lord.
There's no way he's being Shane Weber, PK Subban.
These guys I have making
Mark
it.
Stahl.
Dan, the guys I have making it: Dan Boyle, Drew Doughty, Duncan Keith, Chris Letang, Alex Petriangelo, Brent Seabrook, PK Subban, and Shea Weber.
Don't forget Mark Stahl, bubble guy.
I think he's an injury replacement though.
And Mike Green also could be a bubble guy.
Well,
Right.
Mark Stahl would make it if his eye didn't almost pop out.
Yeah, right. I agree. So with the guys I just named, as great as Hammer is, and I think 2018 is going to be his lock for the team, not this year.
It goes back to like we were saying before with a lot of the players on the U.S. team. The experience he's going to gain, though.
Absolutely.
It's just, I mean, he's already considered one of the top defensemen. A lot of teams are starting to realize who he is.
Right.
But now he's just going to get even more experience just by going to this camp.
And mentally, right? I mean, it puts you on an emotional high mentally that you were even invited, and that can go a long ways too.
And the moment we've been all waiting for is dissecting the forwards position for Canada.
You know what? Let's ask him who's not making the team because we can go all day with who's making them.
This is a murderer's row of guys.
Listen to this list who I have not making it, okay? Jeff Carter.
Wow.
And again, this is just my opinion on who I would pick. Jeff Carter, Ryan Getzlaf, Taylor Hall, Chris Kunitz, Andrew Ladd, Milan Lucic, Brad Marchand, Patrick Sharp, Eric Stahl, Jordan Stahl, and Joe Thornton.
Wow, you left Thornton off, huh?
Kayla, hopefully Kayla's not.
Yeah, if Kayla's listening, he lives in New Jersey, by the way, Kayla. So
at least Logan Couture's on the roster.
But look at the guys that are making it: Taves, Tavares, Stamkos, St. Louis, Richards, Perry, Neil, Nash, Giroux, Eberle, Duchesne, of course, Crosby.
Makes you shiver just thinking about it.
But don't you want a little grit with? Well, granted, you don't really need grit in this style of game. Like
you don't. No, you don't need it.
Yeah, that's true.
Rather go with speed and hands over grit in the Olympics.
That's
you want
true.
talent.
Just thinking of the line of John Tavares, Stamkos. Oh my God, this team is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And I took this opportunity to take a nice little shot at probably one of my most despised players in the league, and that's Mr. 14 on Pittsburgh, Chris Kunitz. Took a little shot at him. My quote on him was, "Unless a fiery cheap shot artist is needed, Kunitz does not make my squad."
I'm kind of shocked that you don't get Getzlaf on this team.
Again, it was more, my comment for him was his exclusion is not related to anything but a numbers game.
Okay, fair enough.
There's really
there's no room.
Too much talent in front of him, I think. He's he's a great player, but I always feel for a guy who at that age has no hair. Close to my heart. So.
All I know is the list came out for Canada, and I was like shivering, like, oh my God.
Unbelievable.
The thought of just a couple of those guys being on the team.
Right.
Just going through the goalies.
It's almost like an all-star game for them.
It is an all-star game.
But on the same standpoint, as I said before, it all depends on how they gel and how they handle the expectation that whole nation's going to put on them. That's really what it's going to boil down to. They can have all the talent in the world on paper. If it doesn't come together on the ice, and we've seen it at times with great teams, just not gelling on the ice, it can all unravel pretty quickly for them.
But the better thing is, how much pressure is really on them this time compared to last time? Olympics in Vancouver.
Oh man, that
I agree with that. That makes sense. But with Canada, I think the expectation for them to win is always there.
Of course.
It's always there in any international competition they enter. It's always there. I mean, I remember how disappointed the nation was when John Carlson scored in the 2010 World Juniors to beat them in overtime.
Awesome. I remember that.
The whole nation went into like a funk. I mean, so they're expected to win every competition they enter. But I agree with you. 2010 was on a whole other level with it being in Vancouver.
Oh yeah. So now all the pressure's on Russia.
Yep.
Get the vodka bottles out.
Yeah. Naby's gonna be in for a shelling.
You know, they're saying he may not even make the team.
Who?
Naby.
Who's their goaltenders that got invited? It has to be him, Hobby Bulin, who's like 80.
Oh god.
They have like the oldest team of all time, right?
Goal hanging.
You got to think they have to have close to the.
Sniping and goal hanging central for the Russian team.
Yeah, they're not going to be playing much defense, I don't think.
Not at all.
Russians play defense.
Yeah,
Some of them do.
that's funny. In motherland Russia, you play defense.
Well, at least Kovalchuk buys. With the Olympics missing out on the All-Star game for the second straight year, at least Kovalchuk gets to play in the KHL All-Star game this year. So
Good for him.
I'm sure he's real excited about that.
You know what that means? It's going to be the Ilya Kovalchuk team versus the Alexei Yashin team. Because remember, when Yager was there, they had the Yager versus Yashin teams.
What they did with Kovalchuk was the equivalent of Manchester United buying a player. It was just the richest team in a league just doing whatever they want to do to get the player they wanted the most.
Oh, before we forget, Andy, we started a brand new thing since tonight's show number 38.
Yes.
We have the honorary number 38 guy,
For the hockey segment.
For the hockey segment, Dave Scatchard. What do you think about that?
Scatchard. Wow, that's an
Yes,
old.
I pulled that one out of my butt. Yes.
That's an oldie. Holy crap, Dave Scatchard.
We couldn't think of anybody. Okay, our generation couldn't think of anybody else named with the number 38.
Islanders? I can't.
Let's hear yours.
My number 38?
Yes.
On the Islanders or all time?
Islanders. Well, let's keep it to local.
Yeah.
Jesus, who the hell even? That's who the hell even wore number 38?
Dave Scatchard.
I know that. You said that already.
Just making sure you're paying attention.
Has there only been one Islander that wore number 38?
And why isn't it retired?
That was a regular. I mean, like that. I'm not talking about a guy. I know I'm probably going to tweet now. Oh, this guy came up and played like one period. Oh, you know who else wore 38? Jack Hillen.
Ah, Jack Hillen. How can we forget about Jack Hillen?
Can't. The guy who took a slap shot in the face from Alex Ovechkin.
That's right. Poor guy.
Jack Hillen wore 38. But I still got to go with Scatch, man. He was a good third-line center. He was not a bad player.
And, yeah, the years that we made the playoffs, but only made it out of the first round. But
right.
Pretty
He's not a bad player, though, Scatchard. But, yeah, Scatchard and Hillen are the only two that come to mind that wore 38 in my memory, anyway.
One of my fondest memories of Dave Scatchard was when we were...
There's fond memories of Dave Scatchard?
Yes, actually there was. There was a Blizzard game, and they didn't cancel the hockey game, and me and my dad...
He shoveled the Coliseum lot with Dave Scatchard.
Yes, and he scored a hat trick during the Blizzard game, and he wore the sombrero after he scored the hat trick, so that was pretty sweet memory.
So why? Because there was a blizzard, there was nobody there, so he didn't feel any pressure.
Yeah, pretty much, except for me and my dad and 15 other people.
And you know the guy with the gold hair was there.
Goldie!
But we're not going to talk about him because we're not allowed.
No.
Right now, we would like to thank Andy for joining us this week.
Thanks, Andy. You're the best.
Thanks, guys. Anytime. It's always a pleasure talking with you boys.
Eyes on Isles, you want to give any of your writers a shout-out?
All of them. Mike Wilhoft, Rich Diaz, Chris Triantafilus,
Ashley.
Mike Ristano, Eric Borden, Ashley March, and Shane Blackburn, who's going to be our new podcast director. He's going to kind of work with getting a couple of our writers on the air and talking some Islanders hockey, so that should be fun. Because, regardless of what people think, we don't all get along harmoniously at times. So,
Really? You don't say.
yeah, it should make for some interesting listening, that's for sure.
So what you're saying is you guys would have a really interesting Thanksgiving.
Yeah, as you know what, as long as we stick to hockey, we'll probably be all right. As we start branching out into other topics, that's when we kind of seem to get in trouble. So,
Yeah, never a good idea. So let's
but
keep
hockey, we're okay. But there's some things that we disagree on that can make for some interesting. Like our man Eric Borden doesn't really approve of the job that Mr. Snow has done this off season. Where I am very very pro Snow the last couple of years, especially this off season. So that might make for some interesting discussion.
So right now we're going to go play a little more Dying Day by Division 1.1. Thanks again, Andy, for joining us. Check it out, Eyes on Isles.
Have a good night.
Night.
SND Podcast is no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Hockey League or any of its affiliates.
Yeah, welcome back to the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, that was Division 1.1 with Dying Day. Stephen and Dan are here, and now we would like to welcome to the show from NFL.com. You also hear him on the Dave Damashek podcast, Adam Rank. Welcome to the show, Adam.
What's up, Adam? How's it going tonight?
Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on, taking some time to allow me to ramble on. And I think the funny thing, the joy of podcasts, is that this isn't live. You know, nobody knows what's. You guys are very sweet, but you're like, hey, we won't talk about what happened before you got on the line and blah blah blah. No, we're going to talk about that right now because I feel that people need to know what's going on here with the trials and tribulations that was going on. So you guys called me up. I'm on my way to a comedy. Or I was on my way to a comedy show in Burbank, California. Place called Flappers. And before I left on my 45-minute trek up here, I had a couple slices of pizza. You know, no big deal. I'm driving up, and then all of a sudden, I feel a little rumbling in my stomach, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh boy, this can't be good. Maybe I'll be all right." But no, I had kind of an emergency, and I'll spare everybody the details. I don't want to be too graphic. Let's just say it was a race to get up here, to get to a location, to find some facilities, which I found here in a mall. I ran into a Sears, and just in the nick of time, I might add. And you know what? It's not a proud moment for me. It's not one that's going to be in my highlight reel of my life. They always say that your life flashes before your eyes right before you die. I don't know if this particular moment will, although I feel great now, but I was cold sweating in my car with the air conditioning on, just going like, this isn't going to, and the only thing I could think of is that if the worst thing happens, at least I'm going someplace that has a mall, because this place is right next to a mall. Like, I'm going to have to go buy some new shorts or new pants or something like that. But all that crisis was averted, and I'm ready to go now. And is it more information than people needed? Probably. But I feel this is me. I'm an open book. I let it all out there. I have no secrets. I let everybody go. You guys are very sweet to not want to have to bring that up, but I insisted that we bring it up, and I hope. Oh, I did though. The great thing was I'm in there. Again, I don't want to be too graphic, but when somebody walks in while you're doing what you're doing, and you can hear them audibly just be like, oh, and then have to run out. You know, you've done some of your best work. And maybe I am a little bit more proud than I'm letting on. Maybe I am pretty pleased with myself, but
way to go.
I feel good.
Way to go.
I feel good.
That's a step.
I feel like I left it like that bathroom from Train Spotting when Ewan McGregor has to go in and fish out his suppositories. But enough about that. I don't want to. I hope if people are still listening, I appreciate it that you stuck with me through that 15-minute diatribe.
Don't you worry. Our friends are very. Everybody who listens, that's just makes you more of a folk hero.
They're pausing. They're pausing just to catch their breath. That's what
well, that poor bastard who walked in was sure pausing to catch his breath. But if I could find that guy, I'd buy him a slushie or something. I felt I owed him, but okay. But he disappeared, so.
Oh, poor guy. Steve, you want to start off the interview? Because I'm dying laughing right now.
Well,
we're going to start talking about Adam's personal life, even more personal now. First off,
I don't think we can get more personal.
No, we absolutely can't. First off, Adam, when did you start working for the NFL? NFL.com, NFL Network, yada, yada, yada. Pretty much the NFL.
Yeah, I started as a wee lad. I was in my teens. I was still in college. I was interning for their publishing group and really enjoyed it. I mean, obviously, if you're lucky enough to find yourself with an NFL internship, which I didn't know existed, and I lucked into, and one of those things, and then I just wouldn't go away. Part of it, everybody goes, what? I don't know that you would say my success, it's the right adjective that you want to use, but the reason for my being is that I just refused to go away, even though they probably wanted me to go away. And, I worked for the publishing group for 10 years. I freelanced. I did everything. And then in 2007, when NFL.com was starting off kind of on its own, because for years, NFL.com had been housed by ESPN. And then for a number of years, it was housed by Sportsline, CBS Sportsline. And then in 2007, they brought it in as a league entity that they were controlling it themselves. And I was lucky enough to get there on the ground floor, so to speak. And again, just not going away, trying to do as many different things as I could with fantasy, editing, just finding all jobs to kind of make myself valuable. And then from there, then the fantasy show started, the Dave Baseball program started, and I am where I am today. And I feel very fortunate and very blessed by it.
Awesome. We are here on the SND Podcast Show with Adam Rank from NFL.com via Skype. He's over in California trying to get to his comedy show. So, what was your first pinch me moment of working for the NFL?
When I had a chance to run into Deacon Jones at an event down in San Diego. They used to do this, they still might do this, NFL Celebrity Shootout, a golf tournament, and it was one of the first events that I went to as an employee and was hanging out, and it was like, they had a dinner the night before the big event, and it was all you can drink and all you can eat with all this awesome food and all the Coors Light. Coors Light had just signed on as a sponsor, so we're pouring them down, and like Bonnie Bernstein was there, Deacon Jones, Marcus Allen, all these people. You're walking around, you're like, this is my job right now. I'm just hanging out, talking, shooting the bull with Marcus Allen or Deacon Jones, and all this stuff. As a matter of fact, there was a young lady who worked there at the La Costa Golf Resort, striking blonde woman who I had known from my hometown. And so I ran into her, and I'm like, hey, and we're talking. And then Marcus Allen came up and was talking to us. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. Marcus Allen is sitting here hanging out, talking with us. Until I realized, wait a minute, does Marcus Allen know? How does he know that we're not together? Like, how does he know that I'm not hitting on this girl? He doesn't know our backstory. He doesn't know our history. For all he knows is I'm just some guy hitting on this girl at this party. And he decided that he's going to walk up and start talking to her, which I feel, and then I'm kind of upset. Like, am I getting C-blocked by Marcus Allen? Is this really happening? So I guess that was the moment, is that when Marcus Allen was kind of cutting into my game, if you will, that I knew I had arrived as an NFL employee. I guess it's a rite of passage, I guess.
That's awesome. Also, since we forget to mention, Adam used to be a very big Los Angeles Rams fan, so running into Deacon Jones must have been one of those crazy moments, other than getting C-blocked by Marcus Allen. Want to share a little bit about your first time meeting Deacon Jones?
I will share that. I forgot the best part of this story, though.
Okay.
About this Marcus Allen story, because I started getting upset about, like Marcus Allen, like he said, like the nerve of this guy. So all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I'm just hanging out, and this another blonde starts kind of sauntering over, and then she runs up behind Marcus Allen and puts her hand over his eyes, and he's like, turns around like, hey, it was Christy Swanson, the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So now I'm sitting there going, not only am I getting C-blocked by Marcus Allen, Christy Swanson is now my wingman. This could not get any better.
That is pretty awesome.
So I don't know how many more names I can drop into this story. I'm gonna try.
Keep on dropping.
I know. Believe I'm shameless with the name dropping, and I'll admit it. I mean, of course, because that's what I do. But Deacon Jones, serious moment. When I was a kid, my neighbors next door had season tickets to the Rams and the Angels, and me being the little freeloader that I was, is that I would always find myself going to these games, hanging out, and going to them. And my neighbor, who would take me to the Rams games, was a huge Deacon Jones guy. Because I had a Jack the Ripper shirt on, which I don't think it was appropriate for an 8-year-old, but whatever. So I'm wearing this Jack the Ripper shirt, and Kevin Green was just coming up, and he was kind of my guy too. And he would always tell me stories about Deacon Jones, about how great he was, and just what an unbelievable football player he was with the head slap and all these stories. And he was telling the story that about one time, an offensive lineman had shined up his buckle, like sharpened them, I should say, so that when Deacon would head slap him, he'd cut his hands up. But undaunted, Deacon just kept going. He didn't care that, his hands were getting bloodied and everything. He was still going to just keep slapping this guy's head repeatedly, and just was an amazing player, and of course, Deacon Jones coined the phrase, the sack, and all that good stuff. So I heard all these stories, traveling down to Anaheim Stadium, which is about a 21-minute drive door to door from my house. So I would hear these great stories and everything. And when I started working for the NFL, I decided, I'm going to start trying to find more out about Deacon Jones. And, you'd watch some NFL film stuff and read some stories. And my boss at the time was the former LA Times beat writer for the Los Angeles Rams. So he would have great stories. So I was really excited. And then, when I met Deacon, it was like being in the company of NFL royalty. Like, you just couldn't believe it, because he was still, he had to be in his 60s, still an imposing presence, just still a big man. And of course, I know he got this a lot. I wanted to see the hands, and the hands still had the scars from the story that I was just talking about.
Oh.
And he put his hands just like if you could imagine like grabbing a ping pong ball, that's like what his hand did to mine. And I don't think that I'm a small guy, but it just enveloped you. And so I'm like, hey, can I get a head slap? I like being an idiot. I might have been 21 at the time. Like, hey, can I get a head slap? And of course he obliged. And I think I got a concussion, but it was worth it. None of, all of that stuff was cool. And it was just a special moment. And I did eventually get an autograph. But I don't have very many like autographed mementos, because they kind of frown on you going out. I like to give that stuff away. But 3 things I've kept is I've got an Eric Dickerson autograph, I've got a Deacon Jones autograph, and a Jack Youngblood autograph. So it was a special moment for me. I've gotten to meet those 3 guys, which is a really cool, as somebody who might not have, I don't really remember those guys playing so much, but being, somebody who's an avid fan and trying to learn about history, have really, come to appreciate what they did on the field. And so it was awesome. It was just an awesome moment, and just very fortunate. Like this is one in a series of very fortunate moments that I'm not sure that I deserve, but it was awesome.
Yeah, me and Steve can definitely relate to that story. Well, being wannabe historians for our teams. Well, we're both big Giant fans. I'm sure you know, since I hound you about the Giants all the time. That would be me meeting Michael Strahan. Michael is definitely my all-time favorite Giant. I've always wanted this. I always had history lessons over the Giants. Family since I was born, just eat, sleep, breathe Giant football. And Steve could relate of just the history lessons that we've learned over the years, and it's just amazing to hear like other people feeding off the passion of football every week, sort of thing. So that's definitely an awesome story to hear, that you got to meet one of your like quote unquote idols of per se. What would be your finest moment as a Rams fan? There wasn't too many.
I don't think there was one. There was I don't know, I think we won a fist fight against some 49ers fans one time, which was a very, very proud moment for us. No, we talked about this in the Jerry Rice interview on the Dave Damashek football program, which is available on iTunes, is that 1989 season, and everybody remembers the Jim Everett phantom sack and everything like that, and everything that went along with it. But you look at it, the Rams had won the first game in Candlestick Park. We were crushing them in the second game in December 11th, 1989, and we're killing them. And then John Taylor had those two 90-yard touchdown receptions. One of the guys that he burned repeatedly was a guy that we got with the pick from one of the draft picks from the Dickerson trade, which was fitting to me. That always just seemed so fitting. Like, oh yeah, that's one of the guys we got, quote unquote, in the Dickerson trade. So why wouldn't he get burned? But that whole 89 season could have been different. The Rams would not have had home field advantage, I don't think, because we would have been. You know what? Because they would have been 12 and. Because I got to go back. I'm sorry, I was a little young. My memories are perfect, but I think if we wouldn't have had home field advantage right then, we still would have gone into that championship game having beaten them twice during the regular season. You have a little bit more confidence. Jim Everett, probably plays a little bit better. They still have Montana and everything, so it's tough to say. But that was a fun season until that game in December 11th. And
your birthday
that's
too.
Yeah, and it's it's just so unfortunate. That's unfortunate. I mean, and then Bettis came along and he won the Rookie of the Year, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, there wasn't a lot to celebrate. I mean, it was a lot of not good. I mean, I don't want to complain too much about being an LA sports fan because I realized that we did have the LA Lakers. So I wasn't somebody who was like from Cleveland or something, somebody who went through real like heartache and pain and everything like that, which always bugs me about the Boston fans who always cried for years about the Red Sox never winning the World Series. You had the Celtics. You were fine. You didn't have, and I feel the same way. Like we still had the Lakers, so it wasn't like we went without winning, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of high points for the Rams in the short time that I was able to live with them. And of course, their greatest success came when they're in St. Louis, and you could only wonder, would we have been able to do that same type of thing in Anaheim Stadium on the grass field? Would the greatest show on turf have been as good? I really don't know, but I like to pretend that it would be, and that because so many things could have been different. Like Kurt Warner might not have ever started. Trent Green, there's no automatic notion that he would have gotten hurt. So you never know, but hasn't been a lot of high points, unfortunately. But you know what? I've made up for it by working for the NFL, so I've got that going for me. So I really can't complain too much.
Well, just so you know, we did our midseason baseball preview last week, and you'll be happy to know I did pick the Angels to come back and win the division out there.
That's not a good pick.
Yeah, that was definitely wasn't like a.
I think it's going to end up being a good pick. I'm going to hold to it.
All right. Well, believe me, your lips to God's ears.
All right. Since the Rams have left LA, before you considered yourself a quote unquote free agent, who did you root for?
I did have. Pardon?
Who have you been rooting for?
Well, I did have season tickets for the Cardinals at one point. And I split them with some guy because I would go out there and my buddy was going to ASU, and we'd go out there and party and have a good time. And we went to one of their fan fests. I was there, doing some work for NFL Publishing, and my buddy came along and he's like, "Dude, you can buy like a seat for $100."
For the
and I'm like, "Oh, that'd be cool." Like, because if you came out for 2 games, it would be worth it. And I would always come out for the Cowboys game because it was a fun game. Like the stands were full and it was always a lot of action, so it was awesome. And so I had that, and I did have like partial season tickets also for the Chargers. So those are the 2 teams I really was pulled towards. I wasn't so much like when the Rams team, when they folded, I was kind of like, I'm going to get into the Chargers because out here in Southern California, the San Diego station was very strong, so we would get the signal, so you could get the Charger games on radio, and you'd have the Charger talk shows and everything. But that was also the same year that they ended up, that was right after their Super Bowl run. Yeah, because that would have been 94, yeah. So it was right after their Super Bowl run. So I felt kind of stupid being like, I can't say that I'm a Chargers fan, because that's such a bandwagon thing to do. They're coming off a Super Bowl season. They might go back, so I didn't want to get into that kind of situation, so I held off on them a little bit. So I guess that's a long-winded way to say I never really attached myself to anybody, but the Cardinals and the Chargers sometimes pull at my heartstrings.
Okay. The leading on to the next question I have for you. I obviously don't want you to give it away because I remember you saying that you have something planned. But how is your free agency going? I know you said New Era still on board for your pick?
I hope so. I hope they were saying like, yeah, we can supply some hats. Want to kind of do a thing like how the college kids, or how the high school kids pick their college, where you have a number of hats out there, then you pick one and you put it on, and that's your team that you're committed to and everything.
Do you have a top 3 we can say right now, or you don't want to?
Yeah, we could. Oh no, we could go top 3. The Browns are going to be in the mix. I feel a kinship with Browns fans.
Okay.
It's a team with a great history.
His first
Hasn't been doing very well recently, so I like them. The Browns are in the mix. Also have to like the Cardinals have done a pretty good job. Calais Campbell, I've seen around the offices a number of times this offseason. He's been hounding me to really fully commit to the Cardinals. And an outsider who's kind of emerged out of nowhere has been the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I don't know if you guys saw this, but when I was doing the greatest football movie of all time bracket,
yeah,
we had the Jaguars filmed a video and sent it out to me, and they gave their takes and opinions on the greatest football movie of all time, which I thought was very cool. And so I have to give them some consideration as well.
But you're going to have to be with the Jaguars for the long run, right? Other than
You know what? When I'm in, I'm in. You know what? That's the thing. The only contingency is if the Rams move to Los Angeles, I would be a fan of that team.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't take too kindly to any other team coming to Los Angeles. Like the Raiders, I definitely wouldn't care about. And any other team that was uprooted and moved to Los Angeles, I wouldn't feel right rooting for, knowing what it was like going through that same situation. So I wouldn't dig it if, for instance, the Jaguars were moved out to L.A. Like, I would feel bad for the Jacksonville fans and be in a small protest and show of solidarity with them. I would not root for that team.
Fair enough. And I'm going to steal a quote line from your show. There's no jive, and that for those 3 teams, there's absolutely no front running. So I definitely give you credit for that, because you could easily pick one of the, even though that's not you. Obviously, we all know that listening to you weekly, but you could have easily copped out and give like, oh, I would want to be like a Bears fan or a Panthers fan, or like I'm just throwing random teams up out in the blue, and that's one kudos that you didn't pick one of those random teams that can contend every year out of the blue. So definitely kudos to that. We're going to shift our gears a little bit. By the way, you're listening to S&D Podcast. Dan here with Steve, and we have our special guest, Adam Rank from the NFL Network, NFL.com. We're going to switch gears to the NFL questions. Are you ready for that, Steve?
I think so.
I'm good. I'm ready.
I'm ready. I don't know if Adam's ready, though.
I'm never prepared for anything. That's how I go through life, is unprepared.
All right. Sounds good.
There you go. Adam Rank's life lesson on the SND Podcast show.
And then don't get mad at us when it's kind of little East Coast bias, but our first question is overall. What division, I know it's early in the camp, so be as you may, what division excites you the most coming into the first couple of days of training camp?
Honestly, it is the NFC West. The best rivalry in football right now is the 49ers and the Seahawks. And that goes back to when Carroll and Harbaugh were collegiate coaches at USC and Stanford, respectively. That's carried over into the NFL, and it's been fantastic. The NFL is at its best when the rivalries are really fierce. So that rivalry is awesome. The St. Louis Football Club, for whatever reason, people are very excited about that team or whatever. Okay, fine. They were decent last year. You know, if the NFL did its divisions the way college does its divisions, St. Louis would have ended up winning the NFC West last year, because I believe they were undefeated, because they unless they had one, no, because they had a tie.
They had a tie. They might have had
a tie. Yeah, did they lose? I don't think they lost. They beat San Francisco. Did they lose? But anyway, so they did very well. And I think Arizona, though, I do think that they're going to be better this year. Carson Palmer's making a huge difference difference there already. He's going to make that offense a little bit more dynamic. I think it was kind of a risk not having Ray Horton come back because he had done such a great job with that defense. However, I do think that they're going to be back. The defense, the pieces are still there. So the defense is going to be very good. The offense is going to be much better with Carson Palmer. So that team's in the mix too. And that's 4 teams who are doing very well. And the NFC South is another division that could be very good, depending on how good the Buccaneers and the Panthers can play. Like, it comes down to their quarterbacks. Can Cam Newton continue his progress to be one of the bright young stars of the NFL? And can Josh Freeman go back to being a good quarterback too? You know, he's shown flashes that he can do it in the past. He's going to be pushed a little bit right now with a rookie there. So we'll see what happens. So that division's really good too. So I think those 2 divisions are far and away the best, but the NFC West has me excited the most.
All right. I absolutely agree with you, especially with the South and the NFC West. I think the Saints are actually going to be pushing it coming back next year. I think they're going to make the crazy run this year. They're going to have the redemption trail this year. I think they're going to actually absolutely run this year for some reason. With the new D coordinator, with Rob Ryan and everything like that, I kind of have that feeling. But I can't wait for the first 49ers Seahawks game because that's going to be crazy. Especially with the whole trash talk this whole entire offseason with everything like that with Richard Sherman and everything. So that's going to be must-see TV, those 2 games.
Now we're going to go a little East Coast bias here. And
especially New York talk, so since we are a New York show.
Since we have some friends who are Jet fans and they unfortunately want us to talk about them.
Okay.
Quarterback battle for the Jets. What is your take on the Sanchez and Geno Smith?
Cricket.
I really like. I understand. You know, Mark Sanchez makes some questionable decisions sometimes. Feel that he has to be the starting quarterback when the season starts, and that's one of the luxuries of taking Geno Smith as a second-round pick, because he's a second-round guy. You know, if he's a first-round pick, no matter where he is, if he's 1 through 32, he will always have that label as a first-round draft pick, and probably should be in the starting lineup if he is taken in the first round. I feel like Buffalo is going to have to do that with E.J. Manuel. As a second-round guy, he can kind of come in a little bit later, let Mark Sanchez go. See, you got to start every season like you can win and make the playoffs. And Rex Ryan is obviously in a situation where he probably has to get his team to the playoffs to survive. So he should try to win, and he should probably go out and play with Mark Sanchez because he gives them the best chance to win in week 1. And you could see a situation similar to what Eli Manning did when he was a rookie. When Kurt Warner had that team, they were 5-4, fighting for a playoff spot, and they made the switch. They went with Eli because they kind of saw, they were kind of, you know, Coughlin was kind of reading the tea leaves and everything and just seeing the way that the Giants were going to finish up. That was a team that was in playoff contention, but didn't look like a team that was going to make a strong playoff run. And I think the Jets will be able to see that. The big difference is, though, is that Rex Ryan will sit there and he will probably go with Sanchez longer than he probably wants to because he's got to make that playoff run. And I don't think that team's that bad. I think the defense can be pretty decent. I think if Chris Ivory can come out and provide a solid running game, which they haven't had in the last couple of years, but the Jets could be okay. You know, and that's what you're looking for, be okay, because I don't think that division is going to be that great. I feel that the Patriots are still the best team there, and everybody is super high on the Dolphins. But the Jets, if they're just okay, and we'll see how it is midway through the season, you know, which way they're leaning and everything. But I think they could be okay, which I guess right now is a glowing endorsement because everybody talks about this team being a joke, but I think they could be okay. And I think that Mark Sanchez gives them the best chance. Give him an opportunity. Let him go. And if he does it, then he'll be gone, and then Rex Ryan will be gone, and you know what? You'll start over next year with Geno Smith.
Yeah, definitely last looks for the Sanchez Rex Ryan era. More importantly, the team of New York. What do you think the Giants need to do this season to capture the crown of the NFC East this year? It's going to be a tough division with the Cowboys always there, but not able to winning the last game this season. The Redskins, are they a one-year wonder with RG3 always the question mark of being injured last year? Or the Philadelphia Eagles with the new coach Chip Kelly and the quarterback carousel that's going to be the four-headed quarterback circus for this summer. What do you think the Giants need to do? Obviously, we all know the offense. They're definitely going to be one of the most dynamic offenses with Akeem Nicks hopefully healthy. It's pretty much going to be the Akeem Nicks. If Akeem Nicks is healthy, they're going to be dominant. Victor Cruz getting paid. Hopefully his head doesn't get too big. I don't think it will. The Eli Manning's Eli Manning. Fourth quarter, I don't want any other quarterback, of course. I think David Wilson has a shot at making the Pro Bowl this year. What do you think the Giants are going to have to do to get into the playoffs and hopefully win a division title this year?
Well, but it's also there's been a lot of change on the defense too, and that defense needs to come together. But the Giants have shown over the course of Tom Coughlin's coaching tenure there that the defense just finds a way to play real well. And so I have a lot of confidence that the defense can play well enough to take them to the division title. So you do look at the offense. You touched on a number of these topics. Victor Cruz, is he going to be able to come back? I feel that he's that type of personality, that he will continue to be a solid player because you look at where he was. I mean, he's one of those guys who wore number 3 during the preseason. And that they give out the number 3 to a receiver who's probably not going to make the squad.
Absolutely.
And he fought his way through that and has become a legitimate, Pro Bowl type receiver. So I feel that he's going to continue on that path. Akeem Nicks, you mentioned, has to stay healthy. The good news is he's in a contract year. And you'll find with a lot of these players that injuries that might have kept you out when you're not in a contract. They get paid. So there's probably going to be a big year for Akeem Nicks. I feel that he's going to rise to the occasion. And you look at Super Bowl 46 and the way he played in that victory over the Patriots, and you watched him in that game, and you're like, this guy is so amazing. He can be the best receiver in the league if he can play a full season, and I really think that we're gonna see him take that step this year. But the big key, though, it's got to be David Wilson. This guy, everybody was super hyper on him last year during preseason. He looked so fantastic, and everybody thought, you know what, the Giants did it again. They found another great running back. He fumbles in that first game. Sean Lee makes a fantastic. That's a great play by Sean Lee. That was not a rookie being careless with the football. That was a fantastic play by an all-pro linebacker. David Wilson fumbles. We don't see him. And then in the last month of the season, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir that you guys all know this. He comes out in this fantastic averages close to 6 yards per run. He had 4 touchdowns, and he also had a kickoff return for a touchdown. This guy's going to be a huge player this year. I do think he's going to be pushing for the Pro Bowl. There's a lot of great running backs in the NFC, so I don't want to put that kind of pressure on him just yet. Could be very well pushing for the Pro Bowl. I think he's going to be very good. And you know what? At the end of the day, the Giants are going to be there. To me, it all comes down to what Chip Kelly's going to be able to do. Is this going to be a guy who comes in and is able to take over an NFL team and take it to the next level the way Jim Harbaugh did in San Francisco? Or is he going to be somebody like Steve Spurrier, a guy who brings in a gimmicky offense that looks good for a couple of weeks until everybody figures it out, and then he gets exposed? I tend to think he's going to be more on the Harbaugh side because he's more of a hard worker. He's a guy who's just always seems to be a step ahead. Realize Oregon wasn't getting the best athletes. They were not winning recruiting battles against USC. However, they always seem to find a way to make the most of their talent, so I feel they'll be very good. I do think it'll be the Eagles and the Giants going for it. I just don't think that the Cowboys do enough on defense to make them a legitimate contender, although I do think Tony Romo and Des Bryant will have fantastic years.
I absolutely agree with you on all those points.
Well, Adam?
I'm glad you're so agreeable. This is so nice.
No, but I on the other hand, with Chip Kelly, I really hope he's Steve Spurrier, of course. Before you go, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles? Michael Vick?
Yes, I would probably lean towards Michael Vick being the guy there. I know Nick Foles has looked good, and you know what? Chip Kelly can surprise us. 4 guys there. We just don't know. I was doing my fantasy rankings, And for the number 13 spot, I just put, you know what, QB Eagles. I'm not trying to make a rip-off of the Super Tecmo Bowl game back from the early 1990s, but whoever the quarterback of the Eagles is should be your first quarterback coming off the board as a QB2 in 12-team leagues. I don't know. I'm confusing myself now. But I do feel it's going to be Michael Vick. I think Michael Vick will be able to do some things with that offense that the other guys can't do. And I think ultimately he wins the job.
Alrighty. Adam, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Adam.
No personal questions? You teased me.
Do you like long walks?
You were going to ask a personal question or two. Was it?
Okay, fine.
What's that?
Did you like white rice? Were you a white rice or a brown rice guy?
You know what? I'm starting to come around on this brown rice. Although, you know what? If you go to the right place and you get the white sticky rice, sometimes you can't beat that. I know they say that there's no nutritional value or anything like that, but sticky white rice is probably, it doesn't get much better than that. Outside of Spanish rice, I was a little offended. He didn't say Spanish rice. He didn't give that as an option because that is very good. You know, you would think, Dave, being out here in Southern California, he would have thought of the Spanish rice. But that's fantastic.
One wrestling question before we let you go. Who's winning?
Right.
Daniel Bryan? Is he going to get the heat over John Cena in SummerSlam?
Well, there's two schools of thought you can go here with what you would love to see happening and what will probably happen. And what I would love to see happen as a wrestling fan and aficionado, I'd love to see Daniel Bryan beat John Cena. Nobody's more over right now than Daniel Bryan. You know what? He's like CM Punk in Chicago, except Daniel Bryan is that way everywhere.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see him beat Cena. I'd love to see him beat Cena. I would love to see Orton try to cash in. And I'd love to see Daniel Bryan beat him too, because then it would make the Money in the Bank ladder match, it would make more sense to have Orton win if Daniel Bryan gets super over that way and they just, feed him those two guys and then eventually lead to a program where Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are fighting for the title at WrestleMania.
That would be awesome. Too bad it wasn't.
That's what I would love to see. What will probably happen is Diesel will come out and jackknife Daniel Bryan. Cena gets the win, and then we'll have that.
All right. Thank you, Adam Rink, once again. Check out his podcast, Dave Damashek Football Podcast Show, and all any other podcasts you do, Adam?
I've been sitting in on the NFL Fantasy Live podcast. I won't be on in the next couple of weeks because I'm taking a little bit of time off before the season starts. I'm off this week. And next week I will be in Canton, Ohio for the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Be out there with Warren Sapp and everybody. And every once in a while I do guest host on the Steel Chair Slam Test.
You actually brought them on to me. And I listened to the last two episodes. Pretty awesome. Thank you for bringing me on to them. To that
it's a
good listen.
It's a good show. Even if I'm not on, I still suggest you go out and listen to it.
Yes.
And so that's where I'm at. And NFL Fantasy Live will be starting up in earnest on August 12th. That'll be available on NFL.com. And then starting in September, we'll be back on NFL Network. So keep an eye out for that too.
And also don't forget, he is also on this week with the SND Podcast Show.
Yes, of course. Hopefully.
Most importantly.
And hopefully he's on a little bit more often as football season
we
comes on.
Definitely love to have you on again during football season. Adam.
All right, well, you got the number. Don't be shy.
All righty. I'm also going to help. He's also going to help me out with fantasy football. I've struggled the past couple of years.
I'm pretty good. So if he helps me, watch out, my leagues.
Uh-oh. Well, they've all been warned now.
Yes, definitely.
So let's go play a little more Division 1.1, and we'll be right back.
Thank you, Adam.
SND Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Football League or any of its affiliates.
Wow, what a show tonight. That was fun.
Yeah, it's just mind-blowing how awesome tonight was. Thank you to
show.
Andy.
Yes.
Once again, check on Eyes on Isles. He's been plugging away with the quiet off-season so far, but he's still finding stuff to write about. So it actually gets me excited for the NHL season coming around, it's right around the corner, a couple months away still, but it feels a lot closer than it really is.
While we're recording on the 24th, if you want to, I'll give a shout out for Pat, 631 at 631 Life.
Okay.
Pat.
Yeah, Pat. I know Pat.
I got a nice text from him today asking me how many days, and I didn't know. He used the immaturity of ours. 69 days until the NHL season.
There you go.
So Pat gets a nice shout out on the show.
All right.
So, once again, thank you, Adam Rank.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Adam Rank. That was amazing. Learning more about himself other than the football aspect of things, and also his knowledge of what to expect this season coming up for the local teams and overall the NFL.
Yeah, and to get his view on the LA Rams.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely great to see. Like I said, keep on listening to us and keep on following us on
Before
Twitter.
that, I want to give you the credit. You did help out. You did you started the ball rolling with getting Adam Rank.
Yeah,
so props to you on that.
Yeah, me and Adam have been tweeting back and forth at each other for the last couple of weeks, and then I finally manned up and asked him. So good pat on the back for myself.
Yes,
on that one.
I'm giving you the credit for that for him. That was a great guest to find. We got some big things coming up. We're in some works with a lot of different people for a lot of different things. So hopefully you guys keep enjoying it. I know we're going to keep enjoying it. We're in the process of working on our
our football preview show.
Preview show. So like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. What else we got?
That's about it.
Yeah. And if you see us around or you have any questions for us, we're always around.
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Play a little more Dying Day
next week.
We're going to play a little more Dying Day by Division 1.1. We'll call it a week.
Have a good week, guys.